You think you're lonely. You think nobody understands you. Nobody stays. Nobody sees the real you. But what if that's not the truth? What if the problem isn't that the world refuses to reach you, but that you've built walls so high, so refined, so convincing, that even you believe they're just who you are? What if you're not lonely at all? What if you're emotionally unavailable? Here's the contradiction most people never face. You crave deep connection, while systematically avoiding it. You want someone to really know you, but the moment someone gets close enough to try, you shift, you deflect, you disappear. Not because you don't care, because caring is terrifying. You've built a life where you can feel wanted, without ever being vulnerable. And that is the loneliest trap of all. Let's define what emotional unavailability actually is. Most people think it looks cold, distant, arrogant, a person who doesn't care. But that's the surface-level version. The deeper truth is far more subtle and far more common. Emotional unavailability often looks like the person who jokes through every serious conversation, the one who keeps things light because depth feels heavy, the mystery who shares stories but never feelings, the listener who asks questions to avoid being asked, the person who feels uncomfortable when someone cares too much. You tell yourself, nobody gets me. But let me ask you something brutal. How could they? You've given them a maze to navigate without a map. You've shown them a version of you, polished, curated, safe. And then you wonder why no one finds the real person inside. The truth is uncomfortable. Almost nobody actually knows you. Not because they didn't try, but because you never let them. Let me paint a picture. See if it feels familiar. Someone tries to get close to you emotionally. What do? You change the subject. You make a joke. You find a reason to be busy. Someone asks how you really feel. Not the surface answer, the real one. What comes out? I'm fine. I'm good. Just tired. You've learned to answer questions without answering them. You've learned to be present without being available. And then, the hardest one. Someone genuinely cares about you. Consistently. Without condition. You feel uncomfortable. Your replies get slower. You pull back. You create distance. Not because you don't want them close, but because closeness has historically meant one thing to your nervous system: danger. So you retreat. You protect. You isolate. And later that night, or maybe weeks later, you sit alone and think. People always leave. Without once noticing the truth. You never truly let them stay. Let's go deeper. Why does this happen? Why do intelligent, self-aware people keep repeating this pattern? Because somewhere along the way, in childhood, in a past relationship, in a moment of deep hurt, your brain learned a survival strategy. Being emotionally open leads to pain. If I show you who I really am, you will hurt me, disappoint me, or leave me. So you build protection, not consciously, not maliciously, but psychologically. Your mind created a shield, and the shield works. You never get too hurt, but you also never get too close. Here's the cruel irony. You want connection, desperately, authentically, but only if it feels safe. And here's what you must hear. Real connection is never fully safe. It requires exposure. It requires risk. It requires offering someone the power to hurt you, and trusting they won't. That terrifies the ego. The ego wants certainty, control, protection, but the soul wants to be known. And you've been living in the ego's fortress, wondering why your soul feels starved. Let me show you how you know this is you, not someone else. You, right now, listening. You feel lonely, even when you're surrounded by people. You struggle to name or express what you actually feel. You feel a pull to pull away the moment someone gets too close emotionally. You crave intimacy, but when it actually, genuinely appears, something inside you panics. And the single biggest sign of all, you expect people to understand feelings you never communicate. You get frustrated when they don't get it. You feel unseen, unheard, misunderstood. But ask yourself honestly, how could they see what you never show? How could they hear what you never say? This is not about blaming yourself. This is about seeing yourself. Because the moment you see the pattern, really see it, it begins to lose its power over you. Here's the reframe that changes everything. Loneliness is not always the absence of people around you. Sometimes, most times, it's the absence of emotional openness within you. You can be in a room full of people who love you and still feel completely alone. Not because they don't care, but because you haven't let them in. You cannot build deep, lasting connection while hiding the parts of yourself that most need connection. The parts you're ashamed of. The parts you're afraid will push people away. The parts you've buried so deep you've almost forgotten they exist. Those are the very parts that need to be seen. And eventually, if you keep this pattern long enough, your emotional walls stop protecting you. They become your prison. They don't keep pain out. They keep love, intimacy, and peace inaccessible. You think you're safe, but you're suffocating. Let me pause here and ask you to sit with something. What would it mean if the reason people don't truly know you is because you've made sure they never could? Not intentionally, but effectively. Let that land before we continue. Here's something most people never realize. Emotional avoidance is not passive. It's active. You don't just fail to connect. You engineer disconnection. You choose partners who can't meet you emotionally, so you never have to show up fully. You keep conversations on autopilot, so nothing real can surface. You stay busy, productive, distracted, so there's no space for depth. You sabotage closeness just before it becomes real. Then tell yourself, see, it never works. This is the avoidance paradox. You're not a victim of loneliness. You're an architect of distance. And the saddest part? You don't even realize you're building it. Let's go one layer deeper. You didn't become emotionally unavailable by accident. Your nervous system adapted. Maybe you grew up in a home where emotions were dismissed. You're too sensitive. Stop crying. Just get over it. Maybe you learned early that showing how you felt led to punishment, rejection, or shame. Maybe someone you trusted deeply hurt you when you were vulnerable, and you made a vow without knowing it. Never again. And you've kept that vow faithfully. You've kept yourself safe. But safety is not the same as thriving. And protecting yourself from pain is also protecting yourself from love. So what do? You don't tear down the walls overnight. You start by noticing them. The next time someone asks how you feel, before you say, "I'm fine," pause. Ask yourself, is that true? The next time you feel the urge to pull away, deflect, or shut down, don't act on it immediately. Just notice it. Breathe through the discomfort of being seen. Say one real thing. Just one. I'm not okay. I'm scared. I actually care about this, and that's terrifying. You don't need to become a completely open book. You just need to open one page. Because connection doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. And presence requires risk. Here's your mirror. Are people truly unable to connect with you? Or have you become so emotionally guarded that nobody can fully reach you anymore? Let that sit. Some people aren't abandoned. They're emotionally inaccessible. And there is a profound difference. Abandonment is something that happens to you. Emotional inaccessibility is something you participate in, often without knowing. You've been telling yourself a story. I'm too much. I'm not enough. People don't stay. And maybe that was true once. But maybe, just maybe, the story that's kept you safe is now the story that's keeping you stuck. You can keep building walls. You can keep proving the world is cold. You can keep holding onto your loneliness like a shield. Or you can take a breath, open one door, and let someone see you. Not the curated version, not the safe version, the real one. The one that's scared, messy, longing, alive. Because the people who are meant to stay, they aren't looking for your strength. They're looking for your truth. And they can't find it if you keep hiding it behind walls you built to protect a version of yourself that no longer needs protecting. You're not lonely. You're emotionally unavailable. And that can change. Starting now.